3 quick questions, and I'll try to answer them. So right there, and then back there. Go ahead.
If that this is a conspiracy involved lots of people, there must be some apolitical techies working for Diebold who would have some kind of conscience and pointed it out. Has anyone come forward like
Yeah,
that?
many people have come. Many of those people are at threat because they've all signed confidentiality agreements which would hold them liable for massive, if they disclose, civil suits. Many of those people have volunteered to be subpoenaed and come to us and say, please subpoena us. And much of the records you'll see that we're putting out in the book has come from those people. And I don't think it takes a lot of those people. You really only need one technician who travels, say, from 3 counties that are adjacent to each other to really manufacture a margin to win in the Ohio election, or one person at the Board of Election with override and overwrite capacity, or somebody with a back door. So you don't need a whole lot of people, but different people have, in fact, volunteered to come forward. But part of the problem is I know they have these agreements. The more I approach them, I'm involved in tortious interference with contract, and I'm at risk, and the Columbus Institute for Contemporary Journalism as well, because in the state of Ohio, you can bet they would love. I mean, they attempted to sanction me for bringing the lawsuit and held that over my head and threatened to suspend my law license. And, you know, I mean, it didn't bother me because I knew they'd have to give me a hearing and they weren't likely to do that. But they'd love to, I think, have a judgment against me in my own individual capacity. So those people are there. You can trust that they're still working. They're still in contact with us. I don't want to say regularly, but they're in contact with us. Go ahead.
As a young person, I'm very frustrated with what's going on, and I'm not a lawyer and I'm not a professor, but I'm still hopeful even though I'm frustrated, and obviously you must be too if you're writing a book and touring. But what does one do to make a difference, especially now that the climate seems just to be getting worse and worse?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things to do. I think you know better what you're capable of: writing letters, writing emails, going down to your local board of election and making their life a living hell, or being nice to them and trying to figure out if they actually know anything about the programs they're running on their computers and what the checks and balances are, or if you're opposed to the president's war, protesting on the West Coast or in Washington, or if you're opposed to, torture and rendition, joining Amnesty International. So what I would say is that you've got a feeling for your skills, and you probably have energy, and that there's a lot of things you can do. I think this battle is going to be fought not at the state level in Washington, but really county by county, until there's a template, a model, and a tipping point where someone proves, yeah, we can easily count these by hand, and it's not just a small state, or that there's some countermeasures, voter verified paper ballot, 2 different ways, counting them at the county level and then recounting them. So I think the battle is on, and it's going to be fought county by county at the local level. And the only reason I say there's, Washington's good because, unless you've been to Ohio recently, you have no idea how right-wing that state, a former progressive swing state, has become. Last question, then I got to wrap up.
Yes, for the prognosis, without access to the media, do you think it's possible for us to wake up the non-voters who still believe in democracy and that people have human rights?
Yeah, I believe the vast majority of Americans, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, Greens, Libertarians, wholly and absolutely believe in democracy. I believe we have access through a variety of independent media sources. I believe we have the internet. I believe many of you are on the internet. Some of you may have even read the freepress.org or other sites like Truth Out or Common Dreams or Counterpunch. And I believe that a whole army of citizen journalists, that if we sit back and allow the corporate media elite to tell us what the story is, we won't get it done. But if we get out there and blog and write and report, that we can, in fact, change the mindset. And that in Hocking, let me just end with this one story. In Hocking County, when Cheryl Eaton, there may be criminal prosecution now for a Republican election official in Hocking County, is that they fired Cheryl Eaton, who then had an aneurysm and had to go in for surgery, and she was the only whistleblower, the only woman who came forward and said, I knew this was wrong because you let the votes tabulate first on the recount before you take the hard drive out. So this 65-year-old grandmother, no one back, she's fired. She loses her health care. She's got to go in for a brain. She came out of surgery 2 days later, and it was unsuccessful, with staples in her head, went to the Board of Election, was joined by her neighbors who were outraged, who then for the first time in their life demanded questions from the Board of Elections and stuff Cheryl had told them, and partly was like, well, you know, how should we trust you? You were running Republican fundraisers out of the Board of Election. And thankfully the Republican official said, well, not that much. We were just taking the auction items here and coordinating the event from here. It's not like we ran it out of here. And so, you know, had those people not for the first time in their lives went to a Board of Election meeting and actually asked questions, Cheryl wouldn't be being reinstated and there wouldn't be a criminal investigation today. And I think that's our model. Thank you.